Kenya is a sick nation plagued by a global pandemic. Many hospitals in a majority of the counties are operating at bare minimum capacity as nurses and clinical officers strike enters day 5 in few hours. The doctors are gearing up for an industrial action should the government fail to honor their grievances. It has been a long-drawn battle between the healthcare workers, doctors, the national and county governments. Soon after the deadly and highly contagious virus arrived in the country, doctors and other healthcare workers started demanding for proper protection and augmented welfare. Well, the promises were made, and if the word of the medics and the healthcare workers is anything to go by, the promises remained just that, promises. The contest has lingered for close to 9 months now, and the chickens have come home to roast. Well, it is the worst experience for people seeking healthcare services in public facilities. Terminally ill patients are getting it rough. Their clinic appointments have been cancelled indefinitely, and their excruciating pain notwithstanding. But the healthcare workers insist their plight must be looked into first. Their predicament is equal to dancing with death. So far, 13 doctors have succumbed to the virus, and tens of others are actively battling the infection. At least 31 nurses and 9 clinical officers have also lost the battle to COVID-19. The fact of the matter is, these professionals are the frontline soldiers in the war with the deadly invisible enemy. Unlike they have clearly put it on several occasions, theirs is a battle in which the soldiers are fighting without any body armor. Death, for this matter, is not a matter of if, but then. They complain that the generals have the armor but will not release them on time for whatever reason. The government has on several occasions responded to the matter, saying they have done all they can to help the healthcare workers as safe as possible. At one time, ODM leader Raila Odinga even told the doctors to understand that the virus is killing many other Kenyans and that the medics should be realistic. Yes, several politicians have also died and none of their living colleague is complaining. However, even in a battle, soldiers understand that collateral damage is sometimes inevitable. But they will never be sent to the battlefield without the requisite arsenal. That will be suicidal. So why is it different when it comes to healthcare workers? COVID-19 patients go to the hospitals to seek treatment. The hospital is the workstation for doctors, nurses, and clinical officers. It is basic knowledge, right? It is also basic knowledge that the virus is first spread when people hold gatherings without adhering to prevention protocols. The same politicians who cannot decode mere basics are also the ones leading in gathering people for political events at their own expediency. I repeat, gathering people for their own expediency. Simply put, the healthcare workers are on their own. Pardon me, I should say this, that the healthcare workers and their COVID-19 doused workstations are on their own. That is our voice tonight. These are the stories making headlines tonight. Tonight, BBI Secretariat submits 4.4 million signatures to IEBC for verification. But the electoral body says the exercise will only kick off once funds are availed by Treasury. Also tonight, nurses and clinical officers strike has entered day 4, but governors say healthcare workers from 22 counties are still working. Plus, chaotic campaigns witnessed in Lakeview Ward, Nakuru County ahead of mini polls scheduled for the 15th of this month. Good evening. Tonight of all nights, Anne Wairimu is our sign language interpreter. TV47 News Tonight with me, Abubakar Abdullahi, begins right now. Now to our top story, and 4 days into the nationwide health workers' strike, the Council of Governors has come out to announce the suspension of the strike in 22 counties. And as Zainab Mohammed reports, the sentiments have sparked mixed reactions.
The health turmoil in the country continues to intensify, with the Council of Governors announcing that the health workers' strike has been suspended in some counties. In a statement to newsrooms, the Council of Governors say, and I quote, "We take this opportunity to thank the health workers in 22 counties who have made the decision to serve the Mwananchi, and we hereby urge all governors to meet with the recognized county health workers unions and discuss their grievances with a view of resolving any outstanding grievances amicably." The council further says most of the issues raised by the unions are specific to certain counties, and we therefore urge the health workers union to resolve the issues with the concerned counties. End of quote. However, agreed clinical and nurses union officials have vehemently denied those allegations, saying the nationwide strike is still ongoing across the country.
Seen from Tharaka Nithi, from Makueni and some other counties, that they want very immorally, and I must say that it's very immoral, to use the law to compel our members to go and work under this unsafe environment. And we want to put them on notice today that if they are going to use the law, we also do know how to use the law.
The union further mocked the Council of Governors for pleading with the health workers to engage in a dialogue with them, saying the 47 counties representative body has failed to show up for 2 consecutive negotiation meetings since the strike began 4 days ago.
Vikao hivi ambavyo tulikuwa navyo, Minister of Health walikosa kuja kingine, na cha pili wale wanajiita Council of Governors, wale ambao wanawakilisha serikali za ugatuzi hawakuja kwenye meza. Na sisi tunaona kwamba hawajatilia mkazo yale matatizo ambayo tumewaleta kwenye meza. Na sisi tunasema iwapo matatizo zetu hazitatatuliwa, hata mkienda kotini, kuna sheria inasema tukiona kwamba kuna vitu ambavyo vinaweza kuweka maisha yetu hatarini, basi tuweze kuondoka mahali kuliko hatarini na tuweze kuweka ripoti.
Elsewhere, just 1 day after the Makueni County Health CEC announced the return to work by county health workers, union officials have come out to dismiss those claims, terming them as pure lies, as the strike, according to them, is ongoing.
Nataka kusema ya kwamba hii mgomo ni ya kitaifa na iliitishwa na Secretary General wa Nurses Kenya, Seth Panyako. Si mgomo ya Makueni County, na sisi kama viongozi wa Makueni County na wahudumu wa Makueni County hatuna uwezo wa kusimamisha ama kusitisha hiyo mgomo mpaka ile siku mkubwa wetu katika national level, Secretary General Seth Panyako atasema mgomo umefika baada ya kupata ama ile maneno ama matakwa yenye tumewasilisha mbele ya serikali itatatuliwa.
Zainab Mohammed, TV47.
Elsewhere, the BBI Secretariat has submitted 4.4 million signatures to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission for verification. The signatures were presented to the Electoral Body Chair, Wafula Chebukati, who says that the verification will have to wait for the budgetary allocation to commence. Joash Onsare reports.
The BBI Secretariat submitted 4.4 million signatures collected from Kenyans across the country to the Independent Electoral Commission.
Brought both hard copy and soft copy, na ningependa kushukuru sana commission kwa kuchukua nafasi hii, kukubali kuchukua sahihi yetu kwa siku ya leo.
All this in high power, unaweza chukua hizi zingine ziko kwa gari pale, ziko kwa bus mbili, a total of 4.4 million signatures.
The Commission says the verification process will kick off once the budget is availed. IEBC Chair Wafula Chebukati says the Commission will request for the budget from the National Treasury to facilitate the verification process.
You saw we have been handed over the draft bill. We shall ensure that the bill which Kenyans signed for, the supporters signed for, is the same one as the one we have been handed over today. Our team is already available. We have a referendum committee which will undertake the exercise of signature verification. But of course we shall not commence until we get a budget and exchequer from the National Treasury.
The Commission, however, says for now it is difficult to determine the cost of the proposed referendum. A section of leaders opposed to the BBI have been questioning the cost of the process at a time the country is facing hard economic times.
When we reach there, then we shall be able to tell you how much the Commission will require for purposes of carrying out the referendum. So it's a long process, it's a phase, and let's not jump from one stage to another.
The submission of the signatures and the bill signaling a process that has kicked off, locking out any amendments as proposed by those opposed to the BBI. DP William Ruto and his allies have been pushing for a multiple choices sort of a referendum to accommodate selected issues.
Ambao wanafikiria wanaweza pinga hii process, tunataka kuambia the bus has left. The only thing you can do, unaweza kimbia, uchukue Taxify, uchukue Nduthi, ukimbie, you catch up with us because we are not going to stop. This journey is unstoppable and we are going all the way to Canaan.
The nation, we always get it wrong, but the two leaders have seen it fit that they are giving us an opportunity to get our nation on track so that we see each other as Kenyans.
Sisi hatutaki mtihani ya shule. Sisi tunataka tupeleke hii maoni mbele ya wananchi ya Kenya ili Wakenya waamue kama hii ni maoni ambayo walipeana ama sio maoni wamepeana. Na hakuna fujo, hii ni kitu ya siku moja tu.
With the BBI National Secretariat having submitted 4.4 million signatures to the IEBC, the Electoral Commission will wait for a budgetary allocation for it to commence the verification process. Joash Onsare, TV47 IEBC Headquarters, Nairobi.
Thank you, Josh Onsare, for that report. Elsewhere, the High Court has ordered MPs who served in the 11th Parliament to refund up to 1.2 billion shillings paid to them as house and accommodation allowances by the Parliamentary Service Commission. This comes after a three-judge bench consisting of Justice Pauline Nyamweya, Weldon Korir and John Mativo ruled that the Commission transacted the payments without the Salaries and Remuneration Commission's nod, thus in violation of the Constitution. David Modoka has the details.
In a ruling that was done virtually, the High Court has ordered up to 416 members of Parliament who served in the 2013 to 2017 11th Parliament and senators to refund 1.2 billion shillings that were remitted to the legislators as house and accommodation allowances. A three-judge bench consisting of Judges Pauline Nyamweya, Weldon Korir and John Mativo ruled that the transaction was conducted in disregard of the law, since the Parliamentary Service Commission that was liable for the execution of the payments did so without a green light from the Salaries and Remuneration Commission SRC. The High Court wants both clerks of the Senate and the National Assembly to recover in full from the salaries and allowances of each member of Parliament the entire amount of money lost within the next 12 months. Following the ruling, the Parliamentary Service Commission has, however, insisted that the remittances were done in compliance with the Constitution. In a quick rejoinder, PSC states the commission using a court ruling that had stated that deputy governors were entitled to house allowance, and given that all public officers, including cabinet secretaries, are entitled to house allowance, processed payment of house allowance to members of parliament and informed the SRC. The amount approved was 250 Kenyan shillings, subject to 30% tax. The ruling comes after activist Okia Omtata moved to court to challenge the new allowances and obtained orders stopping further payments pending the court's determination on the dispute. David Muthoka, TV47, Nairobi.
You're watching TV47 News Tonight with me, Abubakar Abdullahi. 9:15 p.m. Time for us to take a short break. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more news.
Every day morning, we cook, we work out, we take care of our health, we hold candid conversations on business, politics, current affairs across the globe, entertainment, beauty, name it. We have it all, and guess what? This festive season, we bring more love to you as you always have to us. Be ready to be blown away as you keep up with me, Linda Alela, every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. as we usher in the festivities in style.
Asante for always tuning into TV47's Morning Cafe every weekday.
Every day morning, we cook, we work out, we take care of our health, we hold candid conversations on business, politics, current affairs across the globe, entertainment, beauty, name it. We have it all, and guess what? This festive season, we bring more love to you as you always have to us. Be ready to be blown away as you keep up with me, Linda Alela, every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. as we usher in the festivities in style.
Asante for always tuning into TV47's Morning Cafe every weekday.
Every day morning, we cook, we work out, we take care of our health, we hold candid conversations on business, politics, current affairs across the globe, entertainment, beauty, name it. We have it all, and guess what? This festive season, we bring more love to you as you always have to us. Be ready to be blown away as you keep up with me, Linda Alela, every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. as we usher in the festivities in style.
Asante for always tuning into TV47's Morning Cafe every weekday.
Every day morning, we cook, we work out, we take care of our health, we hold candid conversations on business, politics, current affairs across the globe, entertainment, beauty, name it. We have it all, and guess what? This festive season, we bring more love to you as you always have to us. Be ready to be blown away as you keep up with me, Linda Alela, every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. as we usher in the festivities in style.
Asante for always tuning into TV47's Morning Cafe every weekday.
Every day morning, we cook, we work out, we take care of our health, we hold candid conversations on business, politics, current affairs across the globe, entertainment, beauty, name it. We have it all, and guess what? This festive season, we bring more love to you as you always have to us. Be ready to be blown away as you keep up with me, Linda Alela, every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. as we usher in the festivities in style.
Asante for always tuning into TV47's Morning Cafe every weekday.
Every day morning, we cook. We work out, we take care of our health, we hold candid conversations on...
This is TV47. Happy holidays.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Let's get to more news now. And a director at the Kilig company has refused to name the faces behind the company despite the company being adversely mentioned in the KEMSA scandal. The company, which is however linked to Jubilee Vice Chair David Murathe, was awarded a tender by KEMSA just days after it was registered, raising questions. Our Parliamentary Affairs reporter Elizabeth Mutuku reports that the Public Investment Committee of the National Assembly has now summoned the Registrar of Companies.
The Registrar of Companies has declined to provide details of a firm linked to Jubilee Vice Chair David Murathe, which was adversely mentioned in KEMSA scandal. As a result, Public Investment Committee of the National Assembly has summoned the Registrar to explain why they failed to provide the details of faces behind the Kilig Limited.
Therefore, diverging the persons from which you bought this company from is an issue. And to agree with Honorable Kajwang, you either choose between two as an advocate of the directors then, or you as the director now. This could be my own biased feeling, but I have a feeling that strongly that you are not making full disclosure of information. And that is why we are asking from what period to what period can you respond to this issue. Now that you have adequate information regarding the company.
Committee Chairman Abdul Swamad Nasir says that Parliament wrote to the Registrar of Companies for details of the companies mentioned in the probe. The committee sought the details, specifically the ownership, as April, when the firm was given a commitment letter to supply PPEs to KEMSA.
KEMSA, and we have met a number of other people, and we very well know the timelines under which they took to deliver and finish these items. You said you have not delivered anything under your submissions. Isn't it lack of capacity that 2 months you did not supply anything, and as a result is the cancellation? So there was a lack of capacity.
That you were given on or before 22nd of July to be able to supply. That's what I am reading. You're therefore requested to supply on or before 22nd July. Is that the case?
That is the case.
That is what the letter reads, right?
Yes.
So what he's asking is, if you had these items, why did you not supply?
A director of Kilig, one of the companies adversely mentioned in the KEMSA scandal, took the lawmakers in circles in attempt to shield identity of the entity's founders. 27-year-old Ivy Onyango went to an extent of calling the supposed persons to get in approval for the mention.
But please also, let's look at the other provisions of the Act in terms of the procurement processes and the powers that are given to certain officials in the different government agencies as to giving direction on how certain procurement processes can be done.
When did you receive this letter? On 9th of April?
I would have to confirm that, perhaps with our company records.
Other than the letter of interest that you wrote, which was received at 9:42, was there any other information you provided with which KEMSA could have identified your organization?
No.
And so, in simple terms, a letter emerges same day, in the morning, and instantly, the CEO of KEMSA has made up his mind that he has identified your organization on a strategic partnership to supply information to supply commodities.
This as details emerged that the company changed hands from original directors in 4 months. Key League records show that the company was registered on 22nd January, but by now Ivy is its sole director. Elizabeth Mutuku, TV47 Nairobi.
Elsewhere, an experimental coronavirus vaccine developed by Chinese state-owned pharmaceutical giant Sinopharm has 86% efficacy. The United Arab Emirates Health Ministry said in a statement following collaborative clinical trials between the two countries. Lynette Gidwa now reports.
Chinese-based pharmaceutical giant Sinopharm has proven 86% efficacy in the fight against the coronavirus. In a statement released by the United Arab Emirates Ministry of Health, the results of the vaccine were based on interim analysis of the late-stage clinical trials, which the UAE started in July. Although analysis showed no safety concerns, no clear determination of whether individual participants suffered any side effects was made. Clinical trials included 31,000 volunteers across 125 nationalities in the UAE. This comes just after the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine received approval for use in the United Kingdom and the first dose rolled out early this week. The Sinopharm vaccine is likely to gain traction in Africa as its long-standing approach has proven effective in other vaccines such as polio and flu shots. Compared with Pfizer and Moderna, most Chinese vaccines do not require freezing temperatures for storage, making transport and distribution much easier, especially in developing countries that lack cold storage capacities. Meanwhile, Group CEO of Amref Africa, Dr. Githinji Gitahi, has commended the emergence of vaccines that will prove to fight the coronavirus with faster results.
We mustn't think about the future of the pandemic. So as research goes on, we know that viruses are very difficult to treat, not least Ebola, HIV. Those are all viral diseases. They're very difficult to treat, and we've seen that you have to take even the common cold and flu. The drugs available are not as definitive as when we are talking about infections from bacteria, for example, where we give antibiotics and the infection goes away. Viruses are very difficult to treat, and that's why the conversation on vaccines for viruses is extremely important.
This even as Kenya records a total of 644 new positive cases with 1,060 recoveries and 16 deaths as a result of COVID-19. The country has, however, been recording a reduced number of daily infection in the recent past. However, experts warn that there could be a surge in the infections as we draw closer to the festive season. Lynette Gidwa, TV47.
Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta has officially launched the Likoni floating bridge at Liwatoni area in Mombasa County. The 800-meter bridge, built over a 5-month period with a 150 movable section mid-ocean to allow for the opening, closing and ease movement of ships in and out of the port. Fatma Ngwena reports from Mombasa.
It is an early Christmas for the residents of Likoni from President Uhuru Kenyatta after he officially launched the Likoni floating bridge at Liwatoni area. The bridge was built to reduce congestion at the ferry terminal.
His Excellency the President viewed the crossing of passengers across the ferry. And we realized that passengers were actually queuing up to 2 kilometers to come and board the ferry. And so my ministry, through the Department of Infrastructure, agreed that we would find a way to implement an emergency intervention. Hence, we came with this idea of the Likoni floating bridge.
The 800-meter bridge, the first of its kind in the region, has cost 1.9 billion shillings and is expected to ease pressure on the Likoni ferry crossing by taking up pedestrians at any time, leaving the ferries to serve vehicular cargo between Mombasa and the south coast.
Hiyo daraja sasa tukimaliza, hiyo itamaanisha ya kwamba hakuna mambo ya kungojea ferry tena. Mwananchi unapita saa ile unataka, wakati unataka, na kile ambapo umebeba uende na urudi bila kulipa, bila malipisho.
Earlier on, the president was in Makupa constituency, laying the foundation for the construction of a 450-meter Makupa Bridge project aimed at restoring the origin of Mombasa as an island. The project is fully funded by the national government and managed by the Kenya National Highway Authority, KENHA, and will cost 4.5 billion shillings.
Bila kupata maendeleo kama haya, kazi haitapatikana. Tunaelewana? Na ndipo mimi naambia wenzangu sana, tafadhalini, siasa ni kuboresha maisha ya Wakenya. Siasa sio ya matusi na kuingiliana na kuipiga.
Kenyatta also drummed up for BBI and urged residents of Jomvu to adopt the report, saying it will benefit them by creating employment. The Makupa Bridge is set to kick off on January 5th, 2021 and will be completed by January 5th, 2022. Fatma Ngwena, TV47, Mombasa.
Now, the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, a campaign that was set to end violence which cuts across gender and age, has come to an end. And although Kenya has attempted to address such incidents, a middle-aged man from Majengo slum in Embu County found himself nursing serious injuries on his back and private parts. This after he was allegedly attacked by his second wife. Nanok Lorraine reports.
David Okambo from Majengo slums in Embu County may have been the most recent victim of gender-based violence after he found himself in the brutal hands of his second wife. During a scuffle with his attacker, Okambo was left nursing serious injuries on his back, broken arms and private parts that were chopped off during the attack.
Mimi nikasikia mtu kama amenishika na nyuma. Kushika nikasikia naumwa hapo nyuma. Na hapo mikono zake mbili zote zimenifinya sehemu nyeti mbaya zaidi. Paka nikapiga nduru mara moja pap akaniwachilia. Kusukuma hivi akamabaki na shati yangu akararua shati akatupa iko hapo chini.
According to Lois Rose, a relationship expert in the area, such cases have been on the rise in the country, saying that great emphasis has been put on the girl child by the society that has left the boy child vulnerable to abuse.
In reality, or on the ground rather, men are being more abused nowadays in silence.
According to the State Department of Gender Affairs, 47% of women in Kenya in the age bracket of 15 to 49 years and 44% of men within the same age bracket have suffered one or another form of gender-based violence that cuts across physical, sexual and emotional violence. Here in Nairobi County, violence against men does not seem to come to an end. For Dan Matakaya, his face tells it all. He recalls the fateful day when he encountered sulfuric acid burns that resulted in loss of sight a few months later.
Few minutes as I was sleeping, she woke up and poured sulfuric acid on my face and ran away. She had gone ahead and connected electricity, the heater, the one we are using to kuchemsha maji. Yeah, so and poured some water on the floor. So when I stepped on the floor, I felt a shock. I screamed and my colleagues came for my rescue.
Gender-based violence is not only achieved physically but also emotionally, where such like victims can no longer bear the act to attempt committing suicide several times.
Karibu mara tatu hivi. Tunagati mwanamke na kukombanisha mbele ya watu. Inafika paka unaona hata heri uende ununue kamba uchinyonge ama ukunywe sumu ama hata uende uanguke tu kwa kari ya moshi tu, hiyo na ikukanyake na uisha hivyo tu na ipatikane. Unaangalia unaona hata watu wanakufa kwa COVID, ni watu tu kama wewe na watu wakubwa wanakufa. Sasa wewe ukikufa na una kitu ya
A more dire situation was reported in Kawaida village in Kiambu County on Monday evening, where one man by the name John Mwangi, aged 56, allegedly stabbed his wife severally to death. It is said that Mwangi tried to hang himself after the bizarre incident, but was salvaged by residents in the village.
Tulipata kuna mbaba mmoja aliua bibi yake, alafu akajihanga, lakini aliokolewa. Tunadhani ni pengine alikuwa ametumia dawa za kulevya. Kuna dawa za kulevya, kuna pombe za chang'aa, zingine za kupimwa.
Bila shaka inaonyesha kwamba
kisu ndio imetumika kumkata kwa shingo yake, kwa koo yake.
In a bid to see such cases come to an end, the Kenya Police Service, in partnership with Rona Foundation, is seeking to establish gender desks within police stations in Siaya County. The desks that are to be manned by police officers trained on gender-related issues will ensure sanity in the area and will see widows and other victims of gender abuse have a safe space.
So we decided to come down to the grassroots to bring the services of law enforcement and respond and prevent and respond to gender-based violence right at the grassroots level, so that yule mjane wa mashinani ajue akona haki, ajue akona protection from the government.
Sawa sawa.
Nanok Lauren, TV 47.
And just a reminder that violence, be it gender-related or otherwise, has no place in a modern society as ours is. Time for us to take another short break. When we come back from the break, we'll be making sense of the ailing healthcare sector. Tonight, our guests for a quick interview are Peterson Wachira, the National Chairman of the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, Dr. Daisy Korir, the National Treasurer of KMPDU. We'll be back with that discussion shortly.
Every day morning, we cook, we work out, we take care of our health, we hold candid conversations on business, politics, current affairs across the globe, entertainment, beauty, name it. We have it all, and guess what? This festive season, we bring more love to you as you always have to us. Be ready to be blown away as you keep up with me, Linda Alela, every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. as we usher in the festivities in style.
Asante for always tuning into TV47's Morning Cafe every weekday.
Every day morning, we cook, we work out, we take care of our health, we hold candid conversations on business, politics, current affairs across the globe, entertainment, beauty, name it. We have it all, and guess what? This festive season, we bring more love to you as you always have to us. Be ready to be blown away as you keep up with me, Linda Alela, every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. in the festivities in style.
Asante for always tuning into TV47's Morning Cafe every weekday.
Every day morning, we cook, we work out, we take care of our health, we hold candid conversations on business, politics, current affairs across the globe, entertainment, beauty, name it. We have it all, and guess what? This festive season, we bring more love to you as you always have to us. Be ready to be blown away as you keep up with me, Linda Alela, every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. as we usher in the festivities in style.
Asante for always tuning into TV47's Morning Cafe every weekday.
Every day morning, we cook, we work out, we take care of our health, we hold candid conversations on business, politics, current affairs across the globe, entertainment, beauty, name it. We have it all, and guess what? This festive season, we bring more love to you as you always have to us. Be ready to be blown away as you keep up with me, Linda Alela, every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. as we usher in the festivities in style.
Asante for always tuning into TV47's Morning Cafe every weekday.
Every day morning, we cook. We work out, we take care of our health, we hold candid conversations on business, politics, current affairs across the globe, entertainment, beauty, name it. We have it all, and guess what? This festive season, we bring more love to you as you always have to us. Be ready to be blown away as you keep up with me, Linda Alela, every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. as we usher in the festivities in style.
Asante for always tuning into TV47's Morning Cafe every weekday.
Happy holidays.
Welcome back. You are watching your channel of choice, the County's Television. Now, 4 days into the nationwide health workers strike, the Council of Governors has come out to announce the suspension of the strike in 22 counties. The statements have, however, sparked mixed reactions, having been vehemently refuted by the medical fraternity. To make sense of that statement and much more in the ailing healthcare system of the country, let's bring in Peterson Wachira, who is the national chairman of the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, and Dr. Daisy Korir, who is the national treasurer of KMPDU. Thank you all for making time for us tonight on TV47.
Thank you, Abu.
All right, Dr. Daisy, let me start with you. If health is wealth, how poor is Kenya tonight?
Thank you, Abu Bakar. I think if health is wealth, Kenya is very poor today. And we are very sad that in this pandemic or in this period, Kenyans are not receiving the health care that they deserve because our clinical officers, our nurses are on strike, and doctors have just given a grace period to allow for negotiations, but they've also issued a nationwide strike. So I think for Mwananchi or for Wanjiku, currently they must be very poor because their health is not being catered for by the government.
Dr. Daisy, you say it must be poor. What makes it poor?
So what makes it poor is that if you have an ailing nation or you have a nation that is not healthy, then the same people are not able to work and produce and give a contribution to the economy. And therefore, in that situation, then we are saying that Kenya is a poor country if the citizens are not healthy and they are not taken care of in terms of their health.
All right, let me bring Peterson Wachira, who is the chairman of the Kenya National Union of Clinical Officers, to the discussion. Peterson, the governors tonight say that 22 counties have called off the strike. You are the chairman of the National Union of Clinical Officers. First, your reaction to that.
And that does indeed bring to a conclusion the opening half in Dublin, and a lively one it has been as well. Etienne Ketia putting Arsenal
to do that. And I think these are desperate attempts for him to be able to try and divide us so that he can kill the solidarity that we are having. But I can assure you that we strike. I agree there are in some few counties where they are using unorthodox means, as you had us talk about today, where they are forcing the contracted staff and those under Unit C and even interns to be able to provide services. Well, actually, the contracted staff are our members. They are threatening them with SAC. I saw today a circular from Narok County where they are threatening actually the UHC staff and other contracted staff that their contracts go against joining a union, which is a direct contravention of the law of the Constitution, because every employee has been given a right to be able to join and participate in the activities of a union. So they're just attempts to try and divide us, and I think what we are telling them is that even if we are to run to court, we are still going to
Peterson, let me interject you at that point. You talk of today's statement, and that statement is a joint statement between the National Union of Nurses and the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers. In that statement, the joint unions say, and I quote, that some county governments are using intimidating and sometimes cunning tactics to force nurses and clinical officers into death trap. What are these tactics that you say the county governments are using?
So what the county governments are doing is that, as I have said, for the staff who are contracted, who have been contracted for 3 years, 5 years, they intimidate them and threaten with the sack. And they tell you that being on contract, you are not supposed to be in a union, which we know is in contravention of the law. We know that other counties like Tharaka Nithi has gone to court. They have secured a court order actually asking us to be able to call off the strike so that they can get people back to work. But I think the question we are asking is, we are out of the workplaces because they actually pose an imminent threat to our health. So how then can a court of law, which is supposed to judiciary and use the wisdom of the law to be able to protect both sides, then send people back to an environment that can actually harm them? And that is why we are saying that we are going to also invoke the OSHA Act, and we are actually going to get those people out. We will,
all right,
yes.
All right, Peterson, point made. Let me bring Dr. Daisy back to the discussion. In a layman's language, Dr. Daisy, what are the doctors looking for? What do they need?
Thank you, Abubakar. I think what we've noted, or what we've put out in our strike notice, is that we are simply asking for protection. Our doctors are working in county and national referral hospitals without the adequate protection to enable them to protect themselves from acquiring the COVID-19 disease. And we are also asking that, apart from protecting them, can the government give them a enhanced medical cover or a comprehensive medical cover to enable them to be treated when they contract the disease? We have seen our colleagues who have contracted the disease. We have fundraised for them to get treatment, and some of them have even had to be moved from one hospital to another looking for an ICU space or a bed where they can be treated. So we are simply asking the government, can the doctors and other health workers, including the nurses, the clinical officers, be given a comprehensive medical cover? We are also asking for a group life cover that would be given to the families or the wives and children of the deceased. We've lost at least 13 doctors and several other health workers. And when these people die, remember, they are the breadwinners. And if there's nobody who is going to take care of their families, they should at least have a group life cover so that the families can be given something when they are gone. And we're also saying that we do not have adequate facilities, especially in the counties, for treating the COVID-19 patients. And so when our health workers contract COVID-19, they are competing for the same beds, the same isolation beds with the rest of the Kenyans. They are competing for the same ICU beds with the rest of the Kenyans, yet they are at a more they have a more increased risk of acquiring this disease. So it's not fair for a nurse, for example, from Isiolo to be moved around looking for an ICU bed when the same county should have put in place a center that is used for treating their health workers, knowing very well that these are people who are at higher risk of contracting.
All right, Dr. Daisy, you talk of what the doctors want, which begs the question, and these are statements that have been made, and you will have to agree or disagree with it. There are those who say that the doctors are asking for a special treatment, that all of us are contracting COVID-19, hence there shouldn't be a special treatment. Your reaction to that?
Let me be very clear. We are not asking for a special treatment. Many employees and government employees, for that matter, have group life covers. They also have medical insurances. So it does not make sense for a doctor to be working, treating a disease that they themselves cannot afford to be treated for. How fair is that you're treating a COVID patient, but when you contract the disease from that particular patient, yourself, you cannot afford any treatment, there's no center for you to be treated, and there's nobody who is going to compensate your family once you die of that particular disease that you're treating. So we're not asking for a special treatment. We're simply saying, can we be able to afford what we are offering to the rest of the Kenyans? Can we be given a chance also to live you know, once you treat, you know, COVID is not something that we've witnessed before. It is a new disease that is very scary, and also it has really caused fear amongst the older, especially the older fraternity of doctors, because once you contract COVID, there's no knowing whether you're going to live or you're going to die. So we are saying, can we be given a fair treatment or a chance to live by being assured of a hospital to be treated, and also at least cover that will cover for the medical treatment that you will consume once you're unwell.
All right, Peterson Wachira, in 2 hours' time, the strike will get to its 5th day. At the heart of this are Kenyans, people who will bear the brunt of this strike. Is a room for dialogue over?
I think for us, the room for dialogue has always been open. I think we are on record having tried dialogue for the past 7 months, and I think Kenyans can attest to this. Before we issued our strike notice, we had given a 7-day demand notice asking them to call us to the table so that we can be able to agree. We then gave 10 days in which they actually never reacted. So I think for us, we have always been for dialogue, and even as we speak now, we have been on the table twice, on Monday and yesterday. And like, our employers in the counties, they never showed up. So I think on the side of dialogue, the union has shown goodwill. The side of the employer is the one that is actually failing Kenyans, and that is why we are saying that it's the employer who is on strike.
All right, and because I presume that you are attending these dialogue sessions, why has it failed to come up with results that are of beneficial to both ends?
As I have said, it's because number one, the employer has refused to come to the table. He has not been on the table for the reasons that I do not understand, because I've seen invites where they have actually been invited.
And just for purposes of clarity, who is the employer here?
I'm talking about the 47 counties under the umbrella of the Council of Governors. And I was very shocked today when I saw the chair Council of Governors asking us to embrace dialogue, and he was quoting the good book that we should come and reason together, and they are not actually coming to the table. So I'm wondering who are we supposed to reason with? Yeah.
All right, Dr. Daisy, is it equally the same for KMPDU, the doctors, the pharmacists?
Thank you, Abubakar. I think what Peterson is talking about is real, that we've really given a lot of room for dialogue. Remember, we've been talking about COVID from April. Our first letter that we wrote to the government was a memorandum done in April 2020, just about a month after our first COVID case in Kenya. And we cited these same issues that we are talking about in our strike notice. And from that time up to now, we've been seeking for windows of opportunity for us to be able to engage and to sort them out. But up to now, for us to resort to a strike action, it is because the dialogue during that period, especially with the employer, which means the Ministry of Health and the Council of Governors, has not been forthcoming. And so we've resorted to issuing the strike notice. But I'm glad to mention that the Senate Health Committee and also the National Assembly Health Committee has come in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks since we issued our notice, and they've really tried to bring the two parties together. That means the Ministry of Health and its agencies like SRC, Treasury and others, together with the Council of Governors, to try and find a solution, a lasting solution to the issues that the doctors raised. And that's also the main reason why we gave out a 2-week period to allow for these negotiations or dialogue to continue, since they had already begun by the time our strike notice lapsed.
All right, because of the interest of time, I understand we will have to end the discussion. But nonetheless, one question on vaccine and the way out from this pandemic. Dr. Daisy, we often hear of vaccines having 86% efficacy, 95%, 94%. In a layman's language, once again, what does that mean?
When a vaccine is being measured on how efficacious it is, it means that we are trying to look at how successful will this vaccine help in preventing somebody from contracting the disease. And so the trials that have been done on the different vaccines have shown different levels of efficacy. And I think up to now we have a few vaccines that have now shown us that we are above 80 and some of them above 90 in terms of the efficacy. So that means that if we were to vaccinate our population, then the chances of success in preventing the person from contracting COVID-19 would be at that percentage that has been mentioned.
And is there any specified percentage of any vaccine that works best? Or is it a general rule?
So I think I can say that vaccines are not 100%. Some people would be vaccinated, but they would still not develop the adequate. You know, when you're vaccinated, it's like your body is being primed to develop protection or antibodies against the virus. Some people would develop adequate antibodies or adequate protection, but others may not. So there's no vaccine that's really 100%. But if you're looking at the overall protection that we will give to our population, then yes, it is good for us to get vaccines and give it to the population so that you prevent at least a significant number of people from contracting the disease because they'll be able to develop the immunity.
All right, Peterson Wachira, one final question as well. What will it take the clinical officers and the nurses to get back to their respective workstations, which are the hospitals?
Thank you, Abu. I think as we have said that all our demands are actually urgent and immediate because we are talking about some of the things that like exempting the vulnerable group from work. Actually, it doesn't even need any money. It only needs a paper and giving a policy directive. We cannot continue losing people when we have adequate knowledge that they belong to a category that predisposes them to a critical disease. And when we are talking about, as the doctor has said, and I don't want to repeat what she has said, but like when we are talking about risk allowance, for example, clinical officers earn 3,000. We have not been getting PPE, so we are actually forced to buy our own N95s. And you know, like an N95 today costs for about 750 shillings. So how long will you be able to actually buy the N95 for yourself? So some of these things that we are actually asking, they are very urgent. They are actually supposed to ensure that we don't contract the virus and that we even die from the same disease. So all 9 items that we have presented are urgent and immediate, and they must be resolved before we call off the strike.
All right, Peterson Wachira, the national chairperson of the Kenya National Union of Clinical Officers, and Dr. Daisy Korir, the national treasurer of KMPDU. Thank you both for making time for us tonight.
Thank you.
All right, keep talking to us. Your opinion as a viewer counts. Your voice matters. The hashtag to use is TV47 News. Send us a message as well on 22047. I understand it's time for us to get to the world of sports now. Let's bring in sportsman Dennis Otieno. Dennis, what do you have for us tonight?
Well, Abubakar, a lot is lined up for you in the world of sports. Tonight, we tell you about the preparations towards the resumption of the FKF Women Premier League. Also, sad news of the demise of an Italian football legend, as well as results of the UEFA Champions League and what to expect in the UEFA Europa League tonight. Now, this and more coming up in just a bit. A very warm welcome to Primetime Sports. My name is Dennis Otieno and we shall start off with local news. Now, Women Premier League players and officials on Thursday took COVID-19 tests as the league gears up for resumption over the weekend. This following the set Ministry of Health and Ministry of Sports and Culture protocols in place to allow the resumption of the league. Among the clubs tested are Nakuru West Queens, Oserian Ladies, Eldoret Falcons, Kibera Soccer Ladies, Kayole Starlets, Kisumu All Starlets and Mathare United Women.
Sana, first of all, ningetaka kuthank government kwa kuturudishia ligi na kumake vitu at least saizi ziko better. Na pia nataka kuthank FKF kwa pia kutu support. At least ligi naanza na tuna hope itakuwa poa. Now that seen madem, sasa zile uko idol vitu mob zina come up. So imetu affect sana like physically. Msimu huu sisi kama Makolandas kwanza tuna kuwin